Hey guys, welcome to University. So I'm going to be starting my new series on Java programming. So when doing Java, the first thing you need is what is known as a IDE. And an IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. And so here's just a quick definition, just to show you guys. But basically all it is that it's a program or an application that uh, allows you to write Java code and it'll check for errors for you or it compiles it for you. It does a whole bunch of things for you that makes Java programming easier and a nice formatted interface. There's lots of them out there. So just to name a few, there's NetBeans, very popular one, Eclipse for people who are pretty hardcore, TextPad, and Dr. Java. Dr. Java is the one I'm going to be using, so I'm just quickly going to show you where you can download it from. But you're welcome to use anyone you want. Anyone's good. They all work the same. The code is going to be the same. Uh, I just I learned on Dr. Java. I still like Dr. Java for most of my programs, so that's what I'm going to be using. So if I download Windows app, so yeah, download Windows app, or if you're running a Mac, click here. Obviously, I'm running Windows, so just click here. It'll redirect you to SourceForge and start your download. Don't worry, it's not a virus. Obviously, I wouldn't do that to you guys. I've no reason to, and it's not very big, so don't worry about it. I already have it downloaded, so I'm just going to cancel it. But for the rest of you, once it's downloaded, just install it, and you'll get this nice little icon here. Big J with a stethoscope, and we'll open up Dr. Java. So welcome to Dr. Java. I'll give you guys a quick tour of it. So right in the middle here is where all your code is going to be written. Write code here. On the left-hand side will be the list of all your classes and different programs. At the bottom here will be, like if you told your program to output anything, it's going to show up here. Or when you're compiling, if there are any errors with your code, it's going to tell you down here. Okay, any messages or anything will be written here. You have your standard options, new, open, save, copy, paste, and there's also compile, run, and test, reset. We'll talk more about these later on. So let's start programming. So like most programmers, they start with the Hello World um, program, and so that's what we're going to do. It's a nice little introduction. It shows you the framework of a Java program, what every Java program needs to work, and just introduces you to the very first line of code that every programmer should and does know. All right, so let's begin. The first thing when creating a program in Java is to write public class, and then here you're going to write the name of your class. Now, you may have noticed I'm using the word class because Java refers to what we're creating right now as a class, but a program can be made of one class or several classes. So because our class today is going to be made of one class, it's synonymous with our Java program. So whatever you want to call your Java program, uh, write it in right here. Also the class name. So I'm going to call it my first program. Now there's a few things to note when naming your Java program or your Java class. Uh, by convention, the first letter of the class is always capitalized. And you can also capitalize the first letter of each other word. Now there's a few things you cannot do. You cannot start the name of your program with a number, and you cannot have any spaces in your Java program name. Okay, so capitalize the first letter and do not start with a number. A few other things. Notice the public here is it's written here, and all this means is that this program can be accessed by other programs. Whenever you see public, that's kind of the general meaning, and that's all you really have to know for now is that public means that other people or other programs can use this program. Class simply indicates that it is a class, and of course the name. Once you're done writing that, you type open curly bracket and go to the next line. Now, this open curly bracket indicates everything that comes after this is part of the class. Now, to end your class, you put the close curly bracket. And as you can see, everything highlighted in blue is everything that's contained within the class, within the program. And so we're going to be writing within the class. So I'm just going to put some extra spaces to give us some room, but it's not necessary, it doesn't really matter, okay? So I go to the next line, it doesn't matter which one. Spacing is just preference, just to make it look clean or whatever you want. The next thing that needs to be written is what is called the method. So I'm just going to write the method, and I'll explain it after. Okay, so this is what's known as the method. And specifically, it is known as the main method. It's known as the main method because it's called main. And it's important because every time you write a class or a program and you run it, the program looks for the main method because that's where the program starts. If it cannot find the main method, it will not work. Okay, this is kind of the starting point for all programs, for all classes. Okay. Public again means that it can be accessed by other things. Static is a little more complicated. It is not important right now. It is very important later on, don't get me wrong. But for the time being, you don't have to know what it means. Just know that it needs to be there. Void. Now, I'll explain this in these two things right away. The void here and the string brackets args. So the main method can receive information and return information. So any information you want to send to the main method so that it can work with it or it needs information to be able to do a certain thing, you need to send within the parentheses here. Okay, so what we're sending is what's known as a string array of arguments. Okay, so that's not important, but just know whatever information we want to send to the main method gets sent here. And by default, for the main method, we write this. Void indicates what type of information we want to get from the main method. Okay, so once it's done completing its instructions or whatever, its statements, its block statements, maybe you want to get information from the main method. So if we do, we need to indicate what type of information we want. So maybe we want a number. So we would type number. Or maybe we want a letter. I don't know. Could be anything. And there's specific ways to tell it what type of information we want. But for the time being, we don't want any information, so we write void. Okay? Next, just like the class, we put an open curly bracket. Next line, close curly bracket. So now everything between these two curly brackets is part of the main method. And it's really within the method where you're going to write a list of instructions of whatever you want your program to do. So like I was saying, we're going to be doing the very standard everyone's first program, which is known as Hello World. Okay, but I'm just going to change it just slightly, and we're going to write our first command. So our first command you type system with a capital S, note the capital S, dot out, dot print line. This is an abbreviation for line, it's LN, open parentheses, and then all this command, this is the command, and all it's saying is that we want to print out information, we want to output information. And whatever we want printed out is written between these two parentheses. So I'm going to change it. Most people's first program will say hello world. But since we're on YouTube, I'm going to say hello YouTube. One thing to note is that the only thing that can go between these two parentheses are letters. Okay, a sequence of letters. So you can see this is a sequence of letters. There's H, E, L, L, O, etc. But in programming, this is very important, and it has a special name. In programming, a sequence of letters is known as a string. And so right now, Java doesn't know that this is a string. It's not sure what it is. So we have to tell it that it is a string. And to do that, we put double quotes and double quotes at the end of the string. Okay, and you can see it turn red. In my Java IDE, so in Dr. Java, my strings turn red. But if you're using a different IDE, it might be a different color. But chances are it changes color once you define it as a string. Also, Java is very much like a language. Okay, so this is a sentence. That means, okay, Java, I want you to print out this message, hello YouTube. Okay, but just like in English, and just like most other languages, French, Spanish, and all these things, there's punctuation, there's grammar. Okay, and grammar and punctuation in Java is known as syntax. And what syntax is, or how to use syntax in Java, instead of putting a period at the end of our sentence here, at the end of our statement, we need a semicolon. So the semicolon in Java acts like a period. It tells Java that, okay, that's the end of that is the end of the statement, that's the end of the code I want, so that's it. And then you can write another one if you want. We can write system.out print line again, and write something else. Goodbye, YouTube, period. And so the semicolon just tells Java that, okay, that's the end of that instruction. I'm ready for another one. And so you can see all the instructions are encompassed within the method, the main method, and all the methods. There can be more than one method, but right now we only need one. All the methods are contained within the class. And that's all you need. When writing a Java program, you need the class, and you need the main method, and the list of instructions. You actually don't need instructions, but it wouldn't do anything otherwise. And that's all you need to make a Java program. So now that our program's done, Java is this two-step process. So the first step is to compile it. So we click compile, and the first thing it's going to ask us is to save it. So I'm going to save it in my Java folder, and the name of the class needs to be the same name as the file name. So you can see they're the same by default. So I'm going to click save. And as I was mentioning at the bottom here, the compiler output tells us compilation completed. So that means everything worked. If it didn't work, an error would pop up here, which I'll show you shortly. So that was the first step. The second step is to run the program. Okay, but you might have not realized, but when we compiled it, the compiler did something special, and let me show you. If I open my Java folder, you can see here's my first program. It's a Java file. But when we compiled it, it created my first program class file. And so what the compiler is actually doing is it's creating this class file. And what the class file is that the compiler took our Java written language and converted it to machine code so that your computer could read and understand it. Because uh, your computer doesn't actually understand Java. It needs to be converted or translated to machine code. And so without this class file, it won't work. So I'm going to delete it. And now I'm going to try to run it. So when I run it, you'll see there's an error. It tells you it needs to be recompiled because there is no class file. And if I recompile it and we look back, you can see the class file is created again. So you definitely do need this. So now that we compiled it, I'm going to run the code. And you should see in the bottom here the output that we typed. And there you go. It tells you it's running my first program. And just as we expected, it outputs hello YouTube. And again, goodbye YouTube. So congratulations, you just wrote your first program. Very simple, but I remember when I was first programming, I thought this was the coolest thing. I couldn't wait to learn more. You know, it's just a great feeling. And obviously, programming is a very powerful tool. And it's also one of those cool subjects where it's so cool and it's very hands-on and it doesn't take very much. You know, all you need is a computer and you can write your own programs. You can start making money. You can do all these things. It's endless, you know, and it's fun. Unlike things like math, math can be fun, don't get me wrong, but sometimes it's really tedious, right? You're just doing endless problems. But programming is so cool because you'll do all this time, you'll spend all this time writing a program, and then you run it and you get results immediately. You know, it's just so gratifying. Sorry, I just went on a spiel there about how great it was, you know. But yeah, I really think programming is great, and I hope this has really encouraged you guys to start take up programming, no matter what language it is. Java is definitely a good one to start. Teaches you all the syntaxes and basics, and definitely very powerful. Um, that's it for the program. I'm just going to show you guys some errors. If you want, you can end the video now. Of course, it's your choice. I'm just going to go through some errors. Um, the video is already getting long. But yeah, if you want to stick around, I'm just going to show you some quick things. So I don't know if I mentioned, but Java is case sensitive. So system here, if I get rid of the capital S and I put small case, lowercase, and try to compile, now the compiler tells us there's an error. It tells us system cannot be resolved. It highlights the error in yellow, and it tells us what line it's found on. So on line 5, as you can see. So that's because system needs to be capitalized. Just like in all languages, some words are capitalized, some are not. System is one of those words that needs to be capitalized, and that's just something you need to remember. I was mentioning that every program needs a main class because that's where Java starts the program. Without it, it doesn't know where to start. So again, it's case sensitive. If I change the method name main to capital M, main, and compile, it's going to work. See, you can see that the compilation worked, but that's because everything here is right. It's in the right format, it's all good, but when you run it, what happened is that, okay, my first program ran, and it's looking through all these lines of code, okay, where's public static void main? Public static void main. It came here, and because it was capitalized, it didn't think that it was the right method, so it kept looking until it got to the end, and it couldn't find it, so it's telling you you do not have a static void main method, which you need. It didn't know where to start. Silly Java. Other errors, remember you need to have this in a string. If it is not in a string, it will not work. We're going to be talking about strings and different data types probably in the next video. So stick around for that. Anything you don't fully understand, do not worry. Do not be discouraged. There wasn't a lot of explanation here. It's just kind of getting the framework down. You know you need a class. Within the class goes the method. the main method, and within the method goes the list of instructions. And we'll talk more in detail about all the different aspects. Remember the semicolon. Without it, it's like the period to the end of the sentence. Java tells you you need to know it. It's a syntax error. It's like grammar. Okay, you need that. One last thing to note, there's the indentations here. So Java automatically indents things for you, and that keeps it nice and neat. You can see that this curly bracket lines up with the method that it belongs to. So it just kind of makes it neat, easy to see uh, where one thing starts, another one ends. The spacing is optional. I can get rid of this, compile it, it still works. And that's it. Um, so yeah, in our next video, I'm not sure what we're going to do, but we're definitely going to build on this program, go into more details. The more we learn, the cooler stuff we can do. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any comments or questions, send me an email. I'll try to respond to it. If not, put it in the comments box. I'll try to get to it. If not, a lot of smart people. I'm sure someone will be able to help you. Thanks.